Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having a great ending to your day, a great work week out there so far as we inch a little bit closer to that weekend. Speaking of the weekend, we do have a storm system to talk about that's going to plague the entire weekend. And I can say now with some pretty high confidence that somebody is going to see a snowstorm. It's just trying to figure out who that somebody is. And that's what we are going to do in this video is continue to try to figure out who that's going to be. And we're going to continue to pump out updates as we always do in the mornings and evenings of every day leading up to the storm system this weekend. And with each update that we get closer, we'll figure out a little bit more and more about the details of who is going to see what. So we'll continue to try to figure it out for you guys. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to give you the latest and greatest information from all the models throughout the last 12 to 14 hours. And even some updated information from this morning's video. But we're going to try to figure this out for you guys. There's a lot of people starting to get excited. There's a lot of desperate people out there that have not hardly seen anything this winter. A lot of people grasping for straws, anything they can get. And I don't blame you. I'm a big winter weather fan myself. But at the same time, we want to keep things at a realistic level. So we're going to talk about some things. I'm not just here to show you some crazy snowfall maps and then head on out. And I know that's what a lot of people want to see, but we're going to talk about what's going into this setup. It's called an upper level low or a cutoff low, and it brings its own cold air and its own dynamics. And we're going to talk about why we can somehow get a snowstorm in the middle of what is a relatively crappy pattern for winter weather. So we're going to break it down for you guys. And really, that's all we're going to talk about in this video. At the very beginning, we're going to briefly talk about what's going on with the storm system now. I'm not going to talk on severe weather. There's a lot of great people who go live out there that have severe weather coverage. I'm going to talk about the snowy side of it and talk about the wind threat overnight tonight into tomorrow for the Ohio Valley. I think there's going to be some big time high winds. And in fact, you got high wind warnings, wind advisories for a huge chunk of the country. And then about the 80% of the rest of the video is going to be talking about this weekend storm. If you folks have not subscribed, consider doing that. It means the world when you guys do that. Like the video if you like it. And I'm telling you, hit me up on Twitter, guys. I know not everybody's big on Twitter. More people are bigger on Facebook. Twitter is a great way to follow me. Keep up-to-date information. I'm making stuff almost at least every hour, if not every hour, every 2 hours. It's a great way to stay up-to-date. It really is. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. So like I said, the beginning part of this video, we're going to talk about kind of what's going on right now. We got winter storm warnings up for a few counties in Iowa, one county in southwest Wisconsin. Winter storm watch is still up for several counties in Wisconsin where they're just not quite sure if this warrants an upgrade to a warning or not. You got winter weather advisory surrounding this region. This is going to be a smaller area. And in fact, I would argue that the area has shrinked a little bit. That's going to see heavy snow. 24 hours ago, this is maybe more looking like more of a widespread area that could see a swath of heavy snow. Not so much anymore. But you see all these tan colors right here. Those are wind advisories. And then this more mustard looking color right here in Indiana and Ohio, that is high wind warnings. You are going to have the potential for some damaging winds in the Ohio Valley tomorrow as this trough continues to get negatively tilted and skirt across areas of the Midwest. And when that happens, the isobars tighten, and we typically get some very strong winds, regardless if there's thunderstorm related or not. You're going to get some strong winds with this, okay? So let's talk about what's going to happen overnight. So we'll start off right now. You already have some moisture beginning to enter, already has entered Missouri. Will begin to enter the southern sections of Iowa. I got a popcorn kernel stuck in my mouth. Sorry, guys. But it will begin to enter the southern sections of Iowa tonight. This will continue. And here's the low pressure showing up here at the bottom of your screen. It's just west of St. Louis. This will kind of skirt through northeast areas of Missouri. We'll stop it right here. It's around 5 a.m. Central Time. The ARRL model has rain switching to heavy, wet snow in areas of maybe northern Missouri, southern Iowa. We continue to go and we stop it right here. And I really think this will be the epicenter of where the heaviest snow will be falling as far as a time frame is sometime tomorrow morning. You got low pressure that's moving into western Illinois. You got extremely high, well, when you use the word extreme, but you got very high winds going across the Ohio Valley at this point with a very strong low pressure skirting across areas of western Illinois. Heavy snow on the backside of this low pressure where cold air is entering in. At the same time, it's bringing its own cold air. And some of this heavier rain will switch to some heavy, wet snow. It's very heavy, very wet. You click a sounding here in Iowa, it's 33 degrees. And the temperatures aloft are above are below the 0 degrees Celsius line, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Aloft, which means, the temperatures, which are in the red line right here, they never go above freezing, which here would be 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's no warm nose that melts any snowflakes back to rain. As these snowflakes fall, they never quite get above 32 degrees. So this is falling as heavy, wet snow at 33 degrees because it doesn't have time to melt at the surface. And trust me, we're gonna touch on that in our system this weekend too, because it means a lot. These systems are similar as far as an upper level low. So it's wild that we're having two kind of somewhat similar systems in 1 week. But this moves on through corridor, very heavy snow, surges through areas of Iowa into southwest areas of Wisconsin. It could switch from rain to snow for you areas in Milwaukee sometime tomorrow afternoon. Then this heads on off, brings a period of snow for northern Michigan, areas of the UP and Michigan, and then this heads on off. And then we talk about the snowfall totals. Freeze it if you need to. Not going to stay on this long, but for you folks in southern Wisconsin, kind of south central Wisconsin, that'll be the epicenter of the heaviest snow. Somebody could get 6 to 8 inches of snow, and it's a really weird kind of cutoff scenario in Iowa. I could see areas where they're not somehow predicting any snow to see appreciable snowfall right here in eastern Iowa, but it's a tough setup for sure. Talking about strong winds, guys, we'll start it off. Man, got that popcorn kernel all stuck in my mouth. Shouldn't eat popcorn today, but I love some popcorn. So, there it is. All right, we're good. So, strong winds. This is starting off at around, let's see. This is starting off at around the wee hours of the morning tonight. You have a corridor an area of very strong winds moving out of Arkansas, and it's in western Tennessee at this point. It's moving in and up into areas of the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. So you stop it right here. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning, and you have very strong winds. Watch out. I know I got a couple viewers from the Evansville, Indiana area. You're going to wake up to very strong winds tomorrow. I'm talking winds pushing 30, 40, 50 miles per hour. Very strong winds, and this will kind of take over the entire Ohio Valley in the Midwest, and anywhere from 40 to as much as 60 mile per hour wind gusts, guys. And look at Kentucky. I mean, look at the Smokies, guys. I mean, you got winds gusting to close to 70 to 80 miles per hour, and gusts, not consistent, but gust. But man, it is going to be a windy morning, windy day across the Ohio Valley. This will eventually make its way up to Lake Erie. This is for tomorrow afternoon. You got 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts across most of the state of Indiana and Ohio, where you have high wind warnings. Extremely windy day. Please, anything that's loose out there in the yard, move it in, whatever you got to do, tie it down, because man, as we're getting into dinner time tomorrow, the entire state of Ohio is going to be dealing with sporadic tropical storm force winds. So be aware of this. Do not let this catch you off guard, because I have a feeling it might. And then as this moves into the overnight hours tomorrow, you're going to get some strong winds in like the Buffalo area and Erie for sure. So let's go on and switch courses to the weekend storm. Did not mean to spend that long on that first part of the system of the video. So here we are, right? Your eyes immediately go to these vibrant kind of yellows and oranges. So this is our piece of energy. This is basically an upper trough that becomes cut off. So it's basically what we call an upper level low, or a cut off low. So at this point, you see how it's tilting this way, right? It has that mean tilt to the left right here. That is what we call a positively tilted trough, okay? As it gets right here, it kind of just bends right down like that. That is a neutrally tilted trough. But when it gets like this and it kind of bows out like that, that is what we call a negatively tilted trough. When you go from positive to neutral to negative, that is a strengthening storm system. And always remember, before I'm talking to this, and I know a lot of people are like, dude, just show me the snow. But it's very important to talk about this. If you want to skip ahead, don't blame me one bit. I'll have timestamps up. But it really is important to show why the storm track is doing what it's doing, what's causing snow, and we'll talk about that also. So here it is. At this point, this is for, we'll stop it right here. This is for Friday evening. This coming Friday evening, here in the next 48 hours, we have a positively tilted trough that's quickly gaining strength. It begins to close off right here, sometime Friday evening into overnight Friday into Saturday morning. You see how these isobars close off? When that happens, this starts to really strengthen. So what happens here is it's digging, and this is the GFS. I'm just showing you one run. It's digging right here. It digs pretty deep on the GFS. which is kind of an outlier, by the way, but I'm not focusing in on that right now. I'm just kind of showing you how this works. It's digging because it closes off, low pressure develops, and as it closes off, it strengthens, and it's digging at the same time. So there's two factors. One, or three factors, really. How quick does it close off? Okay? How far does it dig south? Okay? And after it does both of them, how quick does it begin to gain latitude? So if it gains latitude too fast, it begins to cut. That means you're going to just get a cold, cool rain across the southeast and mid-Atlantic. And areas further west would get the snow. The GFS, for example, it digs down here, digs deep. And then right here, as we're getting into probably overnight Saturday into Sunday morning, it begins to get that negative tilt. This is when it's going to gain latitude. That means it's going to move from more so south to north. It's kind of like hurricanes. The stronger hurricanes are, the more they try to press up against pieces of ridges of high pressure and move north. So this begins to turn, and as it becomes negatively tilted, the dynamics really maxes out. It brings its own cold air. We'll talk about that here in a second. Not going to hit on that. And it really begins to strengthen, and you have a strong piece of energy with a deepening low pressure that's probably throwing a ton of heavy precipitation back into the southeast, and some of it is falling in the form of heavy, wet, paste-like snow. It's definitely going to be that snow that's just very heavy and could be dangerous. So who's going to see the snowstorm? And that's the big question. But this turns into a powerful system. It does. So it all matters, and here's another way to look at it. This really shows it well. The blue you see here is low pressure or troughing in general. So as you can tell, we'll stop this Saturday morning. This is ridging on top of it. It's not a favorable setup. It's not like you have cold air in place first, guys. That's not the case. It's a cutoff low. It's a piece of energy that's lost outside the main flow of things, which is way up here. So this brings its own energy. It brings its own guts. It brings its own cold air. And as it does so, you can have a cold pocket aloft that could bring snow, and it becomes rate-driven. Precipitation, heavy precipitation, can crash the column, causing the temperature to drop. So this swings through here, right into here. And when does this become negatively tilted? When does it close off? How deep south does it dig? So all the questions that need to be answered, and I think we'll have a better idea here in the next 48 hours. But here it goes, moves through, ridging, presses it on out, heads on out. So let's talk about what these models are showing as far as snow. That's what a lot of people want to see. So here it is. Latest European shows a major snowstorm for certain areas. But who does it show it for? Well, let's get it rolling here. Here it is. I can already tell you. And there's going to be, as this upper level low kind of starts to fire off way out here to the west and the western deep south, I think there's going to be an area of snow sometimes Friday night and a Saturday morning here in Arkansas or Mississippi. As this cold pocket of air aloft forms, and I think you could have some burst of snow somewhere over here in Mississippi and Arkansas sometime Saturday morning. Then the storm cranks up for the southeast. And even if you're not seeing snow, this is going to be an absolute washout of a weekend for the southeast. Okay? I'm going to go on and tell you, you're not going to be able to get anything done outside. Nothing, which sucks because I have a lot to do outside. But anyways, you keep this going. You start off, this is getting into late Saturday evening. Okay, you got snow breaking out in these higher elevations of the North Carolina mountains, North Georgia, even snow breaking out in the eastern Tennessee, and then we keep this rolling. And let's just go on to Sunday morning. You stop this here. Low pressure has formed. Like I said, becomes negatively tilted, throws a ton of heavy precipitation back west. Now you have a major snowstorm for eastern Tennessee, North Georgia, the higher elevations of Georgia, even the extreme northwest portions of South Carolina. It's snowing like crazy for areas of western North Carolina, which I think is going to be very favored in this setup. And then as we're getting into later in the morning, Sunday morning, it's still snowing. I mean, it's snowing like crazy too. And this is a big pocket of cold air aloft. But down here, it's just a cold rain in the 30s, like, for example, in the Midlands of South Carolina. But it's getting very close to, like, Spartanburg. Okay, and here's the low pressure flying through. Let me tell you guys, if you had an area of cold air, something locking in some kind of even a medium high pressure, this would be a crippling winter storm for the southeast. But you don't. And I don't really like to speak on what ifs because it doesn't matter, because normally if that was the case, you'd probably have something else working against it. It's just typically how it is here in the southeast. It takes an arm and a leg to get a snowstorm. But man, this is big. You still got to be a heads up for you folks in the Mid-Atlantic, Washington, D.C., Delmarva. This could still trend in your favor, but man, the latest Euro has a doozy of a snowstorm for your Super Bowl Sunday. And it continues as you're getting into late Sunday evening. You have some backside extremely heavy snow falling in western areas of Virginia, eastern West Virginia, and this moves on out, could potentially bring snow to the northeast. We'll show more of that when we know more. But that is a doozy of a winter storm. Okay, what is the Canadian showing? I'm showing all these to lead up to show you the outlier, which is the crazy GFS. And I'm going to call it crazy, but it's showing just weird stuff. Canadian, same kind of deal. Not going to stay on it long, but look at this. You see that little blue right here in Louisiana? That's the cold air loft. At the surface, it's probably only in the upper 30s. But you see these blue areas right here, this blue line, that's the 540 line. So basically, that's cold air in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So it supports snow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. What is it at the surface? Very marginal. Temperatures like in the upper 30s. But you keep this going, guys, and here it is. The Canadian follows the Euro pretty much and just shows winter weather for those Climo favored areas. And I mean, it's kind of weird how it keeps showing more of a wintry mix. This pink, which is freezing rain. I'm not buying a bunch of freezing rain up here in Southwest. I don't know. I don't want to say that and then it ends up happening. But the orange on this map would be sleet. But low pressure kind of takes a similar track. A lot of heavy snow falling in Southwest North Carolina. And even some snow falling in eastern Tennessee. And this continues. This would be a thumping of heavy snow for the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina and probably Western Virginia. And even some snow in far southeast Kentucky. This could be a big storm for somebody, guys. I really think it is. If you just happen to plan a mountain trip for this weekend, man, I would go on and just book an extra day into Monday, in my personal opinion. I'm looking back and wishing I would have booked it for this weekend. I got a buddy of mine, his name's Aaron. We're really good friends on social media. And he's going just outside of Gatlinburg this weekend. I told him he looks like he picked a really good weekend to do it. Hopefully he did. That's the Canadian model, right? Icon, I can only look at tropical tidbits, but it shows it here, takes a similar path. This is a beautiful track, by the way, especially for the Piedmont and the upstate of South Carolina. Look at this little cold pocket of air loft right here, that 540 little line right here. And this is just, I would argue more of this is snow, but the icon shows it, this little upper level low right into here and shows heavy wet snow in the upstate of South Carolina maybe. The mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina, weird kind of system. But, as it pulls away, as we're getting into Sunday evening, look at this backside really heavy snow for northeast Tennessee, southwest Virginia. I think if you're in southwest Virginia, Boone, Banner Elk, even Asheville, everybody in between, and certainly maybe in eastern sections of Tennessee, man, I think this could be a big storm for you guys. I mean, just a pace job of a snowstorm. So now we have the GFS. The GFS, and let me back it up. I'm already showing you the goods early on. The GFS does this. It's already snowing in portions of the mountains as early as, Saturday afternoon. The weird thing about the GFS is it just keeps trending south. It's not trending towards the Euro. You would think that eventually the GFS would fold to the other model guidance, but in fact, and it still could. But up to me making this video right now, it continues to tick south with this low pressure and dig it deeper down into here. So you're actually trending to a front end thump of some kind of frozen precipitation. So you stop this. This is about in the middle of the night, wee hours of the morning Sunday. The GFS wants frozen precipitation breaking out over areas of the Piedmont of North Carolina, even a little blue showing up here in areas of South Carolina. It's not a forecast, though. I'm just showing you how much different this is from the other three models, which should already be a red flag because it's different than all the other ones. But bang, here we go. Sunday morning, all of a sudden, this cold area aloft works its magic. And all of a sudden, you have this weird look where it's raining in areas around this area where it's snowing. Now, I know you're thinking, well, how is this even possible, Mitch? And I go into later in the Sunday morning, and then I stop it right here. This is Sunday about midday around lunchtime. It is pouring snow in Augusta, Georgia, and Anderson, South Carolina, okay, in areas of eastern Georgia, pouring snow. It's snowing also in Columbia, South Carolina. It's weird. It's a weird look. But meanwhile, you got rain over here. Yeah. So this symbolizes that cold air aloft, which I know I've done said about 100 times in the video, and I'll explain exactly what I'm meaning here in a second. But that's what this is. So you look at this, guys, and you're thinking, well, how is this possible? But I'll tell you something really quick, and I'll go on and complete the run. It shows an area of very heavy snow moving over Charlotte Sunday evening, and then this heads on out. And I can tell you, it isn't much of a storm for the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. This is more of just a southern system, but it's an outlier, and I don't really believe it. And I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not trying to disappoint people further south. But what I can tell you, guys, is November 1st, 2014, okay? I remember going to bed, and some of the models were showing this weird little itty-bitty cold pocket aloft of this weird little area of blue that was coming down from the upstate of South Carolina into the Midlands and showing this weird pocket of snow. And I remember nobody in their wildest dreams thought it was possible to happen. Next thing I know, I'll wake up that morning of the 1st of November 2014, and it's starting to snow in areas of the upstate of South Carolina. Then it's starting to snow in Newberry. Then it's pouring snow in Lexington. Next thing we know, this weird, I would say 60-mile wide cold air pocket aloft dumps 4 to 5 inches of snow here in Lexington County, South Carolina. For you folks listening locally, you guys remember it. But if you go over to, say, Columbia or up to Blythewood or something in Fairfield County, it just rained. And you're thinking, well, it's the same temperatures, but it's not all about the temperatures at the surface. What are the temperatures about 5,000 feet up above the atmosphere? And that meant everything that day. Okay, and it was just a record-breaking early season snowfall. So let's make sure we got all our ducks in a row right here. So we'll stop it right here. This is 18Z Sunday. It's around 1 p.m. Sunday, okay? Showing snow right here, okay? What are the temperatures while it's showing snow right here? Well, they're in the low to mid 30s. 35 degrees in Columbia, 35 degrees, 34 degrees in Newberry. You get the point. For you folks locally, you know most of the towns and cities in North Carolina and South Carolina. So you're thinking, well, dang, you're getting snow falling in such marginal temperatures, such high temperatures? Well, it's because if you look at this, okay, 30s, right? What I'm about to show you is going to probably confuse some people, but I'm going to try to explain it. So I'm going to go to upper air temperatures. Then I'm going to go to 850 millibar temperatures in Celsius because we can't see it in Fahrenheit. I wish we could, but I'm going to try to explain it to you. So I'm going to click this. Before I click it, 850 millibars, guys, that is about 5,000 feet up in the air. Okay, so I click it, and for the same time frame, check this out. And you're thinking, oh man, what are you showing me? 0 degrees. -3 degrees, how is it not cold enough for snow? This is in Celsius, 1. And 2, like I said, it's 5,000 feet above our heads. So above our heads, it's 3 degrees. It's -3 degrees. It's -3 in Celsius, okay? In Celsius, not Fahrenheit. It's -3. So 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So 5,000 feet above our head, obviously below 0 degrees Celsius is below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a below freezing. So this is this weird pocket of cold air aloft that these upper level lows bring. And you're looking up here in Charlotte and it's 4 degrees Celsius. So aloft, there's a warm nose of air that's above 32 degrees because, like I said, 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So in the upper levels of the atmosphere, it's warmer. So, that's why if you go back to the GFS, it shows like a weird mixture right over here. Okay. Same thing with here. You go over to Florence, South Carolina. It's 3 degrees above 0 degrees Celsius. So it's 3 degrees Celsius. Okay. So you got rain here. Okay. Then you go over here and it's like in Augusta, it's -4 Celsius. That's well below 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. Okay. So because you have such heavy precipitation falling, it doesn't really matter that the actual surface temperature in Augusta at this point is like 34 degrees. So because 5,000 feet above our heads, and even higher past that above our heads, it's below 32 degrees. So yes, there is an area right above the surface that's probably 33 degrees, 34 degrees, but when the precipitation is falling so fast that it does what we call crashing the column. And basically it cools the column down. So if you got heavy enough precipitation, it could be absolutely unloading snow at 35 degrees in Augusta, Georgia, based off the GFS run. So that's why it shows it this, and I'll explain a little bit better here. So I'll click a sounding around Newberry for 1 p.m. Sunday that the GFS is showing it's absolutely unloading snow on this little blue area. Click a sounding here. Here's another way to explain it. Okay, it's saying it's 33 degrees in Newberry, South Carolina, or around that area. Okay, 33 degrees of Celsius, and for anybody who thinks it can't snow above 32 degrees, man, here's a newsflash. It can. It can snow in the 40s, especially when you have a ton of cold air aloft. In this case, you don't have a ton of cold air aloft, but you have enough. And if you look at the red line here, right, that is the air temperature. The green line is dew points. Don't focus too much on that. It is a saturated column, I can tell you, all the way up until about several thousand feet up in the air, the mid to upper levels. But don't worry about that too much. So you got the red line right here. That's the air temperature. So here's the 0 degrees Celsius line, which goes this way. So it's below this line, obviously, right into here. So below this line, and it just stays below that line. You never get to the air temperature that gets above 0 degrees Celsius, which is above 32 degrees Fahrenheit aloft. So eventually it goes a degree, maybe 2 degrees above 0 degrees Celsius, which 33, 34 degrees, but it does it like literally at the surface. So snow falling throughout the atmosphere right in here. Then all of a sudden, okay, it's a little bit warm enough for maybe me to melt to rain, but there's no room. There's no room for it to melt. And 33 degrees, I mean, that's only 1 degree above freezing. Okay, so it's going to fall as snow. It would fall as snow in this case. All right, I click a sounding right here that's like near Fayetteville, for example. Okay, Fayetteville, North Carolina, it's 36 degrees, so a few degrees. But the big problem with this is look how the air temperature is going. It's below freezing, it's snowing. Then you get about 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet up in the atmosphere. The air temperature gets above freezing. And then it stays above freezing for a few thousand feet. And then it tries to get below freezing here, but it really never does. And then it falls at the surface at 36 degrees. So you have a 36 degree cold rain in this case because you have this little warm nose right into here. I hope I'm explaining this right for you guys. I really am. Talking about snowfall totals, this is what the European does. And I'm going to fly through this very quickly. Pause it if you want. But this is what the snowfall totals show for the European. You can half these probably, guys. Cut it by 50% because you're not going to get 10-to-1 ratio unless you get nuclear-like rates where you're getting 2 to 3 inch per hour rates, which is certainly possible. But you're not going to maintain that, I don't think. But, it shows a foot of snow in a lot of areas. I'm not going to go through every area, but this is what it shows. You got this very compact snowstorm, which is typically what you get with these upper level lows. Now you look at the GFS, what does the GFS show? And it shows this crazy stuff. It shows 10 inches of snow down here in Augusta, Georgia. I know you're thinking, man, Mitch, it's going to snow 10 inches in Augusta? No, I'm not saying that. It's showing 2 to 3 inches of snow in Columbia, showing, yeah, this is just weird, okay? And this is not going to happen. But I would not be surprised if some weird place gets snow from this. I'll leave it at that, okay? What does the Canadian show? The Canadian follows more of the Euro, just not as widespread. And I actually like what the Canadian is showing. Okay, but we'll see. Okay, what does the icon model do? It's probably gonna go way out. No, it doesn't. The icon, shows the upstate of South Carolina some love, the northeast Georgia, but it slams the mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina and Southwest Virginia, which I think are going to be epicenters for this system. So we look at the ensembles. I can tell you the latest European ensemble, which is going to be another one that comes out here probably in the next hour, but it's a solid hit. And I can tell you it ticks southeast, but this is a pretty solid hit for the mountains, the southern Appalachian Mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, even southeast Kentucky. But Boone might be a jackpot area. Yeah. So, and there is a signal, a little, and outside the mountains into the foothills into the Piedmont. Okay, you look at the GFS ensemble, and it's not as crazy. It's very low for the mountains, and it shows these crazy scenarios here deep into the Carolinas, well outside the mountains, and gives a pretty solid mean for you folks. So, crazy times, guys. It really is. Man, just a wild storm. And the 18Z Euro has not ran yet. It's, I think, in the middle of running, but that's all I got, guys. I hope this made sense. I tried to get scientific for you guys to explain what was going on. But yeah, wild stuff coming up, guys. It's going to be an interesting system to figure out. Cutoff lows can do some magical things sometimes. So God bless all y'all. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you in the morning.